RC crawler wheels just got a new innovation called ProBuild. Hey everyone, Rich here from the RCNetwork.com, and today we're taking a look at Boom Racing's brand new ProBuild. Now in this video, we're going to be taking a look at what comes inside of the package right there. We'll be checking out all of the cool features of these wheels, and let me tell you, they are cool. I'll show you exactly how these things build and mount to tires, and finally we will mount these up to one of my rigs and show them out on the trail. As with all of my videos, I'll have handy links down in the video description so you can check these things out for yourself. Now briefly, what makes these ProBuild wheels so unique is they have several different offsets built into the actual wheel depending on how you assemble it. Now the other cool feature is you can fully customize these over at Boom Racing. You can pick what face of the wheel you want, what rings you want, what hardware you want, and everything that has to do with these wheels, all for the same low price. Now with that, you can choose exactly how many wheels you want. So if you want 5 wheels and you need that spare to match everything, you can pick up 5 wheels. And lastly, everything you need to build these wheels and run these wheels is included inside of that package. So not only do you get the wheels, you get the hubs, you get 2 different versions of hardware, and you get a tool to install all of that, which is pretty cool. Inside the box, you get a full instruction sheet on how to build your ProBuild wheels, a cool decal sheet, your first bag of hardware, your second bag of hardware, and finally a third bag of hardware, a 2mm driver for the scale hardware that's included, and finally 2 of the ProBuild wheels. With everything broke down, let's take a look at what all is included. A 7mm nut driver extension, M4 flangeless nuts, some 14mm starter screws, more on this a little bit later, all of your hub hardware. You do get scale hardware that you can choose the color of. You get traditional cap head screws, included hubs, a 2mm scale screw nut driver, a front ring, a rear ring, the wheel face, the lock ring, and finally the centerpiece. Now originally I mentioned this was the front piece and this is the rear piece, but you can actually switch those if you choose to do so. Now the front ring, if you use that on the front, it'll actually give you more of a forward facing wheel, with the wheel face being more towards the front of the wheel. If you use this piece on the front, you can actually have more of a deep dish look, which is pretty cool. Now of course by doing so, you're moving that hub more towards the front on this one right here and more towards the rear on this one. And you can do some micro adjustments by where you actually place the wheel face. Now the wheel face can go anywhere, on top of it, in between it, on the back side of it, and then the only thing that has to be standard is the actual lock ring. This actually has the threads for those screws to go through, and this has to be always on the back of the wheel. Now all of these pieces I mentioned right here are all made out of alloy aluminum, except for the lock ring, where you want the strength. You want the threads to really grab on, and that's where the strength will come in with the steel lock ring. Now mocking one of these up, I use the shallow ring on the front, and that gives you a really nice wheel face. I also use some of that cool scale hardware on this wheel just to show you how that can look. Now flipping it around to the other side right here, you're seeing how deep in the actual wheel hub is, and I fitted this to like a Traxxas TRX4 with some portal axles, and this thing fit in there perfectly, and there was nothing getting in the way. There was actually extra room. I could have actually went with even a narrower fit and fit that hub all the way in there. Now switching things up, I use the deep dish on the front, and you can really see how deep dish that really is. The hub is sitting way back on this thing, and it's just a cool different feature. Now I did use some of the standard hardware on this one just to set this one a little bit different. And if we flip it over to the other side, you can see that the hub is actually sticking out the back side of this thing. Now checking out the owner's manual, you're actually able to get 4 different offsets with just this one wheel. Anywhere from 3mm, the first wheel I showed you, all the way to 16.6mm offset with the last wheel option I showed you. The 2 other are 9mm and 10.6. Size-wise, these are 1.9-inch wheels. They measure in on the actual silver section right here, not including the ring, 54.5 millimeters, and the actual overall width from end to end is right under 30 millimeters. Now, as the posting of this video, I checked out Boom Racing's site, and you're able to really customize these wheels. You can get these two in any color combination that you want. You can get two different wheel faces, also in any color that you want. You can actually get different scale hardware, either in silver or black. There's lots of options on these wheels. You can really customize it to the rig that you're building. Let's quickly go over how I build my ProBuild wheels. A couple of tools that you'll need: a very small flathead screwdriver, a 1.5 and 2.0 millimeter hex driver. Now for that flathead screwdriver, you just need to remove the plastic screws that kind of held this in for shipping. Now, once you've discarded the plastic shipping screws, you can go ahead and decide how you want to build your wheels. Now, I'm going to build mine with the shallow face on the front of the wheel, followed by the actual wheel face that'll go right inside of there. On the back side, I do want to put the deeper face that'll go on the back side, and then followed by finally the lock ring. That's going to go on the very back to lock all of the screws in. Now the first thing you want to do is grab the actual center ring, the black aluminum piece. That's going to go right inside there and sit right in between the two beads of tire on the actual foam. You do want to make sure that it's completely centered and everything looks good. I like to give it a once around just to make sure everything feels good. Shallow face goes in the top here, and you just want to work that in, minding the bead. Just pull it just slightly out. These tires fit very well with these wheels. Once that's complete, you can go ahead and flip it to the back side, and you want to go ahead and drop in that deep dish now on the back side of the actual tire, making note of where the holes are. Those do need to line up at some point. Now that we've got that all kind of lined up, we got holes looking through right there. We are going to go ahead and drop in the face of the wheel on top. Line up the holes. And now we're going to use those long 14 millimeter starting screws. These things are crucial, and these are actually a lifesaver. Go ahead and drop that in. We're going to flip it over now and drop in that lock ring. Now we'll notice the one screw is right there poking through. Line up the lock ring to where it keys in there. Flip it to this side and go ahead and give it a nice little turn. You just want to grab a couple threads. Now that you have that all in there with the one screw, everything is good now. You just want to double check your bead, nothing is falling through. This is looking pretty good. You don't want to pull too hard because we only have one screw in there. Now you want to go ahead and take 3 other screws and do a star pattern on 4 points of your wheel. Now that we have those 4 starter screws in, there's definitely a gap inside of there. We want to go ahead and start closing that down in a star pattern, going back and forth, tightening these down until we get everything tightened and it's all done. Now that we have those 4 starter screws all the way tightened down, we can see that everything is clamshell down. Go ahead and inspect the bead, make sure everything is good. These tires fit awesome on these ProBuild wheels from Boom Racing. Now what we need to do now is take all of the scale hardware. We're going to fill in all of the holes and then backtrack these guys out, add in the scale hardware, and then add our hub. One cool thing is they actually give you the 2 millimeter driver with the kit for the scale hardware, and it actually fits in very, very nicely. There's no wiggle room. It just fits perfect.
5 minutes later.
Now that we have all the scale hardware in, we're going to go ahead and remove those 4 starter screws. And then finally add in the last 4 scale hardware.
1 minute, 37 seconds later.
All of the scale hardware on there, the last thing we have to do is add the hub.
Meanwhile,
and there we have it, a completed ProBuild wheel. Let's get these things mounted on one of my TRX4s and take it out on the rocks.